So what if our fundamental ideas and beliefs about the nature of reality itself are actually incorrect? What if the ways in which we commonly understand the nature of time and space and the nature of our individual identity were incorrect? How might that change things? And how would that relate to the ancient Chinese idea of karma, of reincarnation, and of the concepts of Ming and Xing? Now, I'll warn you ahead of time, this video may be about 20 to 30 minutes, because believe it or not, there's a lot to these concepts, and things like karma and reincarnation aren't just cool catchphrases and slogans which we can put on our Facebook or our Instagram and throw around as, ways of bragging about our spirituality. And I'll also apologize in advance for not having a fancy film set up, but the reality is, this is how I live, this is what I do. I sit on the floor and I drink tea and I write things, so why pretend otherwise? So the first thing we have to really understand, if we want to expand our idea of what we think we know or what we don't know, we have to first set aside the filtering of right and wrong, good or bad, true or false, affirm or deny. Is he with me? Is he against me? Does he believe this? Does he believe that? If we can just set that aside for a little bit and really what we're going to try to do is get in touch with what our actual experience is. So the first thing that we need to understand is that we are all born into many different bodies. Obviously, yes, we have this physical body which we identify with and think is who we are. However, we're dependent upon a great number of other bodies. For example, our parents gave us life, their parents gave them life. A lot of other people grew the food that we eat. This tea that I'm drinking, I didn't grow it. It's dependent upon a lot of people, a lot of energy, a lot of other things which have nothing to really do with me. And the other side of that is we are born into a family body. We are born into a societal body, a kind of cultural body. Born into also kind of a gender body, meaning if we're a man, we're born into kind of a lineage or a history or that group. And we can't really change that. I mean, now in modern times people are playing around with those things, but the fact of the matter is, if you are a man or you're a woman, you're kind of lumped in with, by default, all the other women that have existed throughout time and history. So in that way, it's kind of a greater body in which we are all a part of. So by default, by definition, by the fact of being born, we're all multidimensional in that way. We're all very complex and multifaceted. And this isn't a spiritual attainment. This isn't something we have to put on a pedestal or take LSD to understand. It's just our natural, inherent experience. If we actually can look at it and pay attention and really start to understand these things. And in a bigger scale, we have sort of a species body. We're all humans, so we're identifying with that. We have a planetary body. And we also kind of understand that each of these bodies has its own inherent tendencies, its own pattern, and its own kind of nature. So we all inherit all of these things within our experience, and we access them and feel them all the time in our here and now. And we also can understand from this that if we say, oh, I am a Christian, or I am an American, or I am a French person, or I am a Buddhist, by that identification we are sort of taking on the lineage, the tendencies, the patterns, the nature of that body. So if we say I'm an American and I'm really proud, then we also have to be proud of the fact that the country is based on the genocide of the native people that lived here. We also have to be proud of the fact that for the vast majority of the history of the country, there's been war, there's been oppression, there's been racism, there's been sexism, there's been class, all kinds of, classism, there's been a whole lot of really uncool things that have occurred. So we can't necessarily say, well, I'm an American, but I only am an American for like this little piece. The rest of it, I don't care about. I'm just going to pretend like it doesn't exist. No. It's all in the whole entire body. And as we'll see as this video goes on, the past is accessible and changeable in the present, as is the future. So as much as we say, oh, well, that was just the past, it was different times, it's still alive in the here and now, because we are a member of those bodies. And unless we can start to acknowledge that and see that within our own self, nothing's really going to change. But we'll get to that a little bit later. First, we really just want to understand this body idea and see that everything we think we own, or we think we are, or we think we have, we owe to someone else. And we have to understand that no one does anything of real significance or real value or importance by themselves. And only really crazy ambition and aggression creates failure. So we owe our lives to someone else. You know, our parents had sex, their parents had sex, food was grown, the planet exists in a certain way. There's life. In the same way, our heartbeat, our breath, you know, these aren't things that we do, these are things that happen. These are things that happen to us. These are rhythms of nature. These are patterns of nature. So we also are rhythms and patterns of nature because we're alive, not because we did meditation for 20 years or we have good karma or because we're a Christian or a Buddhist or a Muslim or a Jew or whatever. Just because we're born, we are connected to nature. We are one with it. There's no difference. So there's no separation of self. There's no separate self. There's no individual. There's no I. And as such, there's no real ownership. Because if I have this cup of tea, you know, let's say this is really expensive tea. Let's say it's really rare. I might feel very proud. Oh, look at me. I'm so great and successful because I have money and I have connections and I'm able to have this tea. All these other people don't even know about it. They don't even know it exists and they can't even afford it. So, wow, I'm such a great person. Look at me. Could be, instead of tea, it could be a Ferrari, it could be a Lamborghini, it could be a house, it could be your penis size, could be how many people you've slept with, could be, you know, any number of different things by which you think you gain something from this. But in reality, this tea, I'm drinking it, tastes really amazing. It's really actually is really good tea, but I don't own it. I'm enjoying it right now, and in a little while I'm going to go pee, and it's going to be gone, and the tea is going to be over. I'm going to drink all of it, and then I'll go do something else. Tea's gone. And then I have the bag. The bag will eventually run out. It'll be gone. But I didn't grow it. I didn't consider growing it. I don't know anything about it. So many other factors I had really nothing to do with. And not only that, but maybe I'll say, you know what, I'm going to keep this tea for the rest of my life. Well, I'm going to die. This physical form that appears to be permanent is a temporary manifestation of life. That at one point was maybe some vegetables, was maybe chicken or a cow, and then it was maybe someone's sexual desire. Now it's a body. And then later it's going to be maybe compost, maybe dirt, maybe worm food. Maybe I'll get eaten by a tiger and then I'll be tiger shit. And then an ant will eat that and then I'll be the ant. And this is really, where in there can we find the real ownership or the real permanent self? We can't. All we can really find when we look is relationship, is interrelatedness. We can't really find separation. We can't really find ownership. We can't really find a cause. You know, why am I drinking this tea? Because I like it? Well, why do I like it? Well, we can just take that on until the end of time and not really ever find a cause aside from, well, you like the tea because the universe was created and the universe hasn't been created, then you wouldn't like tea. But wait, why do we think the universe had to have a creation, has to have an end? And then there's nothing. We can't really find that. And in that way, there's no creation, no destruction, just a natural continuity. Things constantly changing and transforming into something else. This teapot, for example, Right now, solid. But I don't know, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, what was it? Some dirt, some water, a mountain, a rock, some cow shit, maybe, some bird shit, a cloud. I don't know. It could have been a lot of things. And 10 years from now, I don't know what it could be. It could be dirt again. It could be still this teapot. It could be an incense burner. Maybe I'll break it. Who knows what it could be. So what it is just right now. It's just this temporary organization. So in this process of continuity, there's this built-in agreement that, we're going to die. All of these people died and gave us their life, and we're going to do the same and give more life. It's just kind of how it works. And now in modern times, we have this real arrogant self-obsession where we think we're so important and we're so entitled that, I'm going to live forever, and I'm going to, have this great longevity, and me. But really, we don't even consider the bigger body in which we are part of. And the fact that things are dying all the time so we can live, and so many things have died so we can live. So many people have given their lives so we can live. We have this great ancestral body of everyone from our family lineage that is with us, that is in our bodies and gave us life right now. All of their wisdom and information is contained in our body. And not just our family line, but our greater human line, our greater planetary line. It's all within us, naturally. Not because we opened our crown chakra, it's just there. And it really comes down to our view. Are we having a big view? We really kind of starting to get in touch with reality and what's here? Or we have little view where it's just all about me and I'm a thief in search of a mirage. We're living our lives trying to just accumulate all these things and do all these things that we think are going to deliver us. We get into relationships and then we're surprised when they end in heartbreak. We get into relationships, we're surprised they don't last forever, but the fact is, when we sign up to get into it, we're signing up for heartbreak. We're signing up for it to end, because that's what life does. It ends. And then it doesn't actually end, it keeps going. If that makes sense. Because our life isn't just us, and our life just isn't this teacup. It's a bigger system, which some people call Tao. So anyways, getting back to the point, when we consider this ancestral body that we are a part of, and that is our body, that is who we are, we have to understand it's not something that was in the past, it's not something that's dead, it's alive right now, it's dynamic, it's in our experience. And that does not mean there is some kind of mechanic at play, or some kind of hierarchy, or some kind of purpose, or mission, or meaning within there. Meaning there's no like worship implied. It's not like, I'm so down here and there's all these higher beings around me and I'm just this lowly peasant and what should I do? Help me, teach me, tell me, I don't know. That's just a real lack of self-respect, which is not only disrespectful to yourself, but it's disrespectful to everyone that came before you, that passed the bar on to you. You're taking that responsibility, that wisdom, and just saying, oh, no, I can't, no, not me. I don't know, I need someone to teach me, I need this, I need that, I need handrails, I need ideologies, I need something to identify with, I need all these things, because in and of myself I'm not okay, I need to be improved, I need to be saved, I need to be delivered from all this evil, and I don't know. Which is fine, if we want to be a Christian, we want to believe those things, there's nothing wrong with that. Like I said at the very beginning, this conversation isn't, yeah, I agree with that, yeah, it makes sense, that's right, yeah, he's right, or fucking idiot, he's wrong, he's stupid. This is not the conversation, because that's not actually intelligence, that's not actually a human way of thinking about things. It's a very primitive, reptilian, limbic system way of filtering reality. Very small view. But again, there's nothing wrong with it. If that's what we want to do, that's what we like, I really don't care. It doesn't matter to me. So we have to understand that this this is a living process. This thing that we're a part of, it's here, it's right now. And within it is contained all the natural virtue that we need, or the righteousness or compassion or wisdom or enlightenment or whatever. It's all already here. It's all already within our nature. And even though maybe it is within our nature, it's also, we're not big. We're very small. In this bigger web of continuity, and in the fact that there's been 100,000 people come before us, now we're 100,001. That's not a big, if you tip the scales, it's very not much of a big deal. But it also is kind of a big deal when we understand the sort of contract that we have and the opportunity that we have and the wisdom that's available to us from this big view, from this natural continuity, from this natural interrelatedness that just is life. And out of that, there is a natural compassion that is built into us. There's a natural sense of righteousness that is built into us, which gets a little weird because that's there, but we also can see there's actually no one to improve, no one to save, no one to be delivered, no one to purify their mind, no one to purify the karma. This is not there. Because what we are again believing or perceiving as to being a permanent, separate, independent, abiding thing is just a temporary manifestation. And the compassion piece is something that we don't really understand in modern times because it's our view is so stained by lack of self-worth, lack of self-respect through thousands of years of Christianity being pounded into our head and hundreds of years of science being pounded in our head, which are actually one and the same thing in my view. So we don't really believe in ourselves. We don't really want to look at our experience because it's evil, it's bad, it's dirty, it's scary, it's these different things. So we think compassion is just about, it's being nice, it's being positive, just good vibes only, and I'm only, being kind, I'm never being mean, and I'm only thinking good thoughts, I'm not critical, I'm not ever doing those things, and it's just all good all the time. That's compassion. It's not actually, it's not compassion. That's compassion for children. That's compassion for someone who is stupid, who's not smart, who can't think. Because if you just say, just be nice, that's all you gotta do, just only be nice. That doesn't make much sense. Someone breaks in your house, what are you gonna do? Namaste. I honor the divine within you that wants to murder me and take my possessions. I guarantee you go at the most compassionate being on the planet with a baseball bat, they're gonna duck. They're not gonna say, namaste, compassion, nonviolence. No, they're probably gonna duck. They're probably gonna get out of the way because that's smart. That's just what you do. So without hitting on that too hard, compassion is really to be found in this interrelatedness that's natural, and in this continuity that is natural. Not because we sit and say, I am a compassionate being, I have compassion for these people, and I'm going to think nice thoughts, and may they be blessed, and may I be blessed, and da-da-da-da-da-da-da. That's one piece, yes, but that is not necessarily an expression of a thing, it's just kind of an attempt at desire, which again is just reinforcing the idea of a separate, unabiding self, which is inherently contradicting, but again, different conversation. Because, again, what we think is so permanent is just temporary. And as a result of this continuity. So what we have to understand is that within this continuity, within this interrelatedness, there's this natural sense of self-responsibility. Because we may look in the world and say, well, they're not very nice people, so they need to be compassionate, I need to be compassionate, or there's a lot of violence and discrimination, so violence and discrimination is bad, so we need to get rid of it. So we need to join a club, we need to start a foundation, we need to do a fundraiser, we need to print wristbands, we need to get t-shirts, we need to write books, we need a spokesperson, we need to get them on media, we need to get the word out there. That's what modern people think about changing the world. modern people don't understand this body, this bigger thing, this life that we have, and realize that really, if those people are violent, then so are we. Meaning, if we're born in America and we look at a lot of Americans and say, wow, they're really ignorant, wow, they're really discriminating, wow, they really hate all these people. We're an American, we're born in that country, in that time frame, odds are it's in us too. Because again, and even if we're not American, we've probably lived in countries that are controlled or owned by the same institutions as America, and the same ideologies, meaning like modern science and Christianity and monotheistic religion, so it's same. So the point is, we point the finger at them, but what about our hands? Our hands are probably dirty too. Meaning, we say violence is bad, okay? Intolerance is bad. All these things bad. But what about our own thoughts, our own conduct? You know, how violent are we being towards ourselves? How violent are we being towards other people? And even what I said at the very beginning of, oh, let's just set aside, you know, right, wrong, good, bad, agree, disagree, affirm, deny. Let's just set that aside. Some people may think, oh, that's weird, that's being naive, or he wants us to be stupid, or he just wants us to believe him. But really, I'm just trying to minimize some of the violence, because looking at things in those terms is subtly and sometimes overtly violent. It's confrontational. It's extremely defensive. So we're going to approach a conversation about nonviolence and interconnection and continuity from a violent, confrontational, separate place. Not going to work. So we have these views in ourselves that we've been beat into us over thousands of years of Christianity and science, and then we think we're going to go to meditation, we're going to go to yoga, and then what are we going to get from it? I don't know if we approach it incorrectly, probably not a lot, because we're so convinced of what we already know is true and filtering reality in these ways. But what about our own conduct? What about our own thoughts? We have to consider those, which is how this whole conversation relates to Xing and Ming and karma and reincarnation in a more specific sense. And we also have to understand that within that, there's really just comes down to understanding. Not necessarily a practice or an effort. You know, in the beginning, yeah, maybe it takes a little bit, but after a while, it's not really what it's about. Because if it becomes a practice, if it becomes effort, then we're struggling, then we're probably going to fail. Because it's not natural. Because it's not an expression of our experience. Just like if internally we're very angry, we're very upset, we're depressed, we are maybe traumatized, maybe we're wounded in some way, which is true for most of us. This is how we really feel, but then we say, oh, namaste. I'm so compassionate. Oh my God, I'm so just like loving and like I'm just so in love and like just in bliss. And we're just lying to ourselves, lying to other people, thinking if I just really think these thoughts, it'll somehow get rid of all these other ones. It's not real. And we don't realize that compassion, kindness, all these things that we think are good that we need to get or obtain are natural expressions which come out of us. They're not things we have to grab and hold on to and control. It's just natural. Because sometimes maybe the nicest thing, the most compassionate thing is to be an asshole. Or to be blunt and directly honest, which the other people might think is an asshole. But maybe that's the nicest thing you could do. We don't really know. And then again goes back to what I said earlier, which was saying, you know, speaking in ultimatums and idealisms and simplistic notions, good for children, but not good for adults. So it's really about getting back in touch with our own experience and cultivating and seeing things and having a right view and understanding based on our own experience, not because our guru told us. It's just basically like, how does it feel when someone's nice to you? How does it feel when someone listens to you? How does it feel when someone is helpful to you? Generally, it's pretty good, unless their version of those things is manipulative or is based on, I'm gonna fucking help you how I want to help you. If you don't want me to help you how I want to fucking help you, then fuck you. Unless it's like that, then not so good. But we all know this. It's all in our experience. So that feels good. Maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll keep that going. That's a different approach than, well, God told me, or my guru told me, or it's in the Bible, or it's good for me, or I'll do this now and then I'll be delivered in my next life, or whatever other reasoning. There's no other reasoning really required. Because right now, this body we have is moving across all time and all space all the time. That might sound like you need to take LSD to understand it, or trip mushrooms, or look at Alex Gray paintings, or meditate for 20 years, but it's really obvious. It's in our experience all the time. And it's obvious in our experience all the time because all these people that have lived before us, ancestors, ancestral body, their wisdom is available to us right now. Have you ever considered, why when you're tired you want to go to sleep? Or why when you're hungry you want to eat, and you want to eat certain things and not other things? Or when you're hungry you want to have sex, or when you're horny you want to have sex, or you breathe, your heart beats. All these natural things happen and we don't really consider them because they're just whatever. But there's a deep wisdom in there, because those are all contracts and responsibilities that we have that we didn't really, you weren't born and someone say, hey, so you want to eat or sleep, maybe breathe, I don't know, and you're like, I don't know, it's a lot of work, I didn't want to. No one has that choice. It's just kind of comes with the territory. So where does all that information come from? Is it just evolution, or is it something else? I don't know. But what we're saying in this conversation is that this ancestral body, this wisdom, and all these people that have died before us, it's all still here right now. They're all still with us right now. We still have access to all of that information right now, because there's no division, there's no separation, there's no us and them. It's just this process of continuity, this process of interrelatedness. So in that way, the past is right now. Also, the people that will come after us, also here right now, because of how we choose to conduct ourselves is influencing what's going to come after. Just this natural continuity that we don't have to do anything for. It's just built in. It's just natural. It's not as a result of a doctrine or discipline. It's just something we can see, something that is apparent. If we can actually start to get into what is our actual feeling state, our actual experience, our actual presence of reality. Not our idea of it, not our desire for it, not our agenda, but what's actually here. And understanding that our imagination is actually not reality. It's actually not real. Because we can imagine something, just means we're going to have to spend a lot of time and energy defending it, because life is going to contradict it. We claim I'm a logical, rational, modern person, but the vast majority of our beliefs and actions are completely contradicted by reality all the time. So it's a deep, deep ignorance, meaning ignorance, deep arrogance, deep entitlement, deep oppression towards our own experience, and even the self-worth of accessing it for ourselves, giving ourselves the permission to even do that. And really to get in touch with the spontaneous nature of reality, the self-correcting, self-regulating version, or not version, but self-regulating, self-correcting experience